Fred, how do you properly say your last name?
It's Bourjaily.
Bourjaily. Is that
Bourjaily. Yes.
where's that come from? Is that French?
That's Lebanese.
Lebanese.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so what's the background behind that? As far as your parents, or
Yeah. It's my father.
gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. Very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Um, well, Fred, the first question we always ask here on Born the Battle is, when did you know that military service was going to be the next step in your life?
I grew up in a very patriotic family. My father served in World War II, and I got to tell you, he was a guy that flew the flag every day. We had a flagpole out in front of our house, put it up, took it down. When he got older, came my job. Even when he moved to Florida in his late 80s, he flew that flag every day, and he was a patriot, believed in the country, and it just bleeds off onto me.
So big inspiration for your father.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now, looking at your bio, there was something that stuck out to me because you don't really see it in my era. But you enlisted in 1969, and you became a sergeant within 6 months.
Yes. They send you went to a special school. It was a recon school. They had three different schools. They had armor, recon, and they had infantry. And I got selected for this recon school as a leadership academy. And they made us sergeants in 6 months. And I went to Vietnam as a sergeant. It was a tough row to hoe because,
Yeah.
you got all these guys that were in country 6-9 months, still PFC specialists and that. And here I come 3 up, and I'm going to tell them, hey, we're going to battle. Well, I'm a little smarter than that. I was listening to those PFCs and those specialists, let me tell you.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. It's kind of like, from experience that I saw, a lot of infantry sergeants that came from 8th and I doing parades for 3 years and then going into a grunt unit as a sergeant, and trying to trying to lead a lance corporal that's been on 2 tours to Afghanistan or Iraq or something like that. It had to be something similar.
Yeah, very, very similar. Yeah, but I ended up with a great group of guys, and they helped me along, and it turned out to be a pretty good soldier. So, you just got to know, you got to know how to handle it. You don't go in here with a puffy chest.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now you deployed to Vietnam as a recon scout in the Army, but your bio says that you were also attached to the 1st and 2nd Marine Divisions. Talk to me about that. How'd that happen?
Well, we were OPCON to the 1st Marines. I believe it was the 5th Marine Regiment up in outside of Da Nang on a LZ Baldy, and the Marines were moving out, so we were moving in to support them, and it was a interesting time working with the Marines.
What was interesting about it?
Well, they're hard charging, I can tell you that. And my first experience wasn't a very positive one because we carried 6 of them out in black bags,
Oh, geez.
and so it was pretty tough. I really have a lot of respect for Marines. I live here in California. I live right outside the back gate of the Naval Weapons Station outside of Camp Pendleton. I go to Camp Pendleton almost every day to work out. So
Oh, wow.
I'm with the Marines all the time. They're just a great group, and I just respect them. Love the Marines for who they are and what they can do.
Raw, raw. Now you were discharged in 1970, and if I'm doing my math right, that means you were in for a little over a year and a half of active time. I'm assuming that was due to injury.
No, actually, because the war was starting to attenuate supposedly,
Yeah.
you could apply for an early out and go to college, and
Oh, wow.
many did. So they let me go to school a little bit early, a few months, and so that worked out nicely.
Very good. Very
Yeah.
good. Um, Now, while you were in, Fred, give me either your best friend or your greatest mentor.
While I was I'm still best friends with him. His name was Lee Bauke. He grew up in Woodson Terrace, Missouri. we went over together. He went to the 11th ACR, went up north with the 96th Light Infantry, and he's a mess today. He's got Parkinson's, and he's been stuck in a wheelchair now for probably 4 years. But he's still hanging in there, and we still talk regularly. And I visit him every year. We visited each other, rotated. He come to my place, I go to his, and the wives get along really well, and it's just an enduring friendship. We really love each other.
That's awesome. How important it is for veterans to maintain relationships like that?
I think it's extremely important. I encourage veterans, to reach out to other veterans. My current position as the commander of the Combat Infantrymen's Association, I talk to an awful lot of combat guys, obviously, and some of them are pretty lonely. And, I encourage them to reach out to other combat vets. We have the ability to see who's a member in our area, in their area, through our membership database. And given the permission from that other individual, we'll feed them that information so they can reach out to them and
That's great.
develop that friendship.
Yeah, it's so important to maintain relationships like that, especially when you get out. So you rejoined the reserves in '76 and stayed until 2009, becoming a sergeant major. What made you want to rejoin in some capacity 6 years later after you got out?
I felt there was something I could give these troops in my wartime experience after the war ended, and I was in the training brigade there in Fort Benning quite a bit. Spent a lot of time there. I did a lot of 13 weeks, and I was one of the few guys on the hill with a combat infantryman badge. None of these guys had a right shoulder patch. So, I could talk to these soldiers about what they could anticipate going to war. Some liked it, some didn't. Some had a hard time processing, what I was telling them they could experience. And I think that's something we need to do more of. I don't think we prepare these soldiers, certainly train them well. You got a 22-week basic training now, infantry. They're extremely proficient in their combatives, weapons, and all the things you need to survive on a battlefield. But we don't get into their head about what they're going to come home with after that time in combat, and what they're going to see and what they're going to experience. And I speak a lot about that. I've gone and spoken at national cemeteries. I go to Memorial Day things and different cities, and ask me to speak about stuff. And I often will bring that up as one of the topics that I think is important to address.
So if you were in charge of training and you wanted to get into soldier, Marines, sailors, airmen's heads about the mentality of what happens when you deploy and when you come home, what are some of the things that you would implement?
Well, I would talk to them about, what they're going to see, what they're going to experience, when they first get into a foreign country, the just the smells, the difference in the air, and just the way people live, what they eat. And, that can be a shock into itself. And then when you encounter combat, what you're going to see is not going to be pleasant. Nobody understands, what a 50 caliber does to the human body, or an M60 machine gun. Now it's a 240 Bravo, it's the same thing. And it's a horrific sight, and it's something that you just can't erase. So you have to understand you're going to see some stuff that, television just doesn't do it, because you're not there. You don't have the visual, you don't see what damage it's really done to someone that was just moments before a living being is now dead. And you cause that for your own survival and for the survival of our nation. And they need to understand this is what's going to happen in war. And I think it's important that we give them some foundation that it's war. They say war's ugly, and those are just words, but how we inculcate that, how we get that into a combat soldier's head is something I think best left up to the folks that understand what goes on in our heads better than I do.
Sure. Sure. And probably also at the same time, while you're saying that you're going to encounter these things, maybe say, hey, but also there are resources to help with that when you come home, even maybe prepping them with that information even before they leave country.
Absolutely, that's a perfect point. That's a great point. Absolutely, you know, I
Because if you're gonna show them that stuff, you got to be able to let them know that it's going to be okay because there are resources that can help you with that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And if everybody on the battlefield kind of understands that, you know, you reach out and help each other. And you know, I remember when they first came out with the suicide training, and I went to college. I have a degree in psychology, so I have some background.
Hmm.
And when they came out with that suicide training, I said, well, who's going to do this training? It, you know, you just couldn't give it to a E6 or E5 and or even an officer and say, here you go, without any understanding of what they were putting out to the troops.
Yeah.
And so I was a little bit, you know, concerned at the way it was almost like they weren't taking it serious enough. If you were going to do this kind of training, you have to have a professional out there that could answer the questions based on what they were telling the troops.
Yeah. Someone with some experience and some background is always better than a PowerPoint. Here you go, teach this, even though you barely understand it yourself. I think a lot of veterans have been in that situation, whether it be suicide or another assignment. Sometimes they just throw it at you. You got to do the best you can.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, you're
yeah,
absolutely right. Definitely get better to have a subject matter expert that really knows their stuff on that.
yes,
Uh, Now, Fred, you were your normal 9 to 5 for 32 years was with the Social Security Administration. What was
yes.
your role there?
I was a district manager, a level one district manager in Flint, Michigan. It was a very difficult service area. A lot of needy people, a lot of poor there. You know, but great folks. Really a fantastic city to have been able to work in, and I enjoyed my time with Social Security. It was a great learning experience. I had a lot of opportunities to work on the Hill, work for budget issues for the commissioner through another association that I was a president of, and you know, I would encourage anybody to go work in government. It can be very rewarding, and it's still keep in touch with the folks today. I still attend meetings, and I still feel somewhat relevant. I was the past president of the Flint area Federal Executive Association as the first president, and they still call on me to talk to me and ask advice, and I still present awards and that sort of thing. So you know, you really never retire. At least I don't think people should. You know, there's a lot of life left after you you know, really hang up the hard job.
Yeah. I always, lately I've kind of been talking about purpose and it's great for me with the VA. I feel like I have a purpose every day I'm here. Um, I think the best day for any veteran, I think a lot of veterans they get hung up on their service and go, that was the best years of my life. And to your point that federal service is rewarding, I think I always say that your best day is tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Always be looking
Yeah,
forward to that.
yeah.
Um, Now, Fred, you were mobilized for Desert Storm, Noble Eagle, both OEF and OIF when you were still in the reserves. What is it like to be in a reserve unit, having a 9 to 5 like you had at the Social Security Administration, and then getting orders that basically put all of that on hold for a bit?
Well, as everybody or anybody that really knows me, excuse me, my first love is the military. Yeah, I mean, I definitely enjoyed my civilian job, but anytime I could get orders for active duty, I took them, and I spent more time on active duty sometimes than I did in the office. And as my collar got heavier, I could take that liberty and make that happen. So you know, it was disruptive for my family, but you know, I had a wonderful wife. She kept the home fires burning, and you just do what you got to do. And again, it all came back to that. I just felt that I had something to offer, and I was always a good soldier. You know, I was always physically fit, and knew my
Hmm.
subject matter, and I believed in taking care of the troops. And in those days, basically, it was ensuring that the troops, were taken care of, because we were back and forth, from the theater into the States, and the reserves were very critical in augmenting units in both
Yeah.
Iraq and Afghanistan, and even in Homeland. And it was kind of a crazy process, because when they left the unit, we were still responsible for them administratively. So we
Yeah.
had to make sure that they still were getting promoted, would get the proper awards, would get the proper pay. And of course, we had the family support issues.
Yeah.
And it
Absolutely.
could get really tense. It was a big job, and you were, it was a 24/7.
Yeah.
You were on duty
Absolutely.
all the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now you have a couple of children, right?
Yes.
Talk to me about, because I've never explored this. Talk to me about deploying while your kids are still in the house and then coming home. What are some of the challenges that you had to have, and what are some of the ways that you mitigated it?
Well, when you're gone, mom's taking care of them, and they get used to that, uh, the way mom wants to raise them, and then you show up, and you may look a little different. There were times I'd come home, I grew a mustache, or and they're like, "Who's this guy?" And sometimes they didn't even know when I was going to come home, because we didn't know, and so they
Yeah.
had a short fuse, to get ready.
Yeah.
And but you talk to them. I think sometimes they understand, but I think sometimes they didn't. I know they don't express the fears they have for you. You just
Yeah.
They just cry when you leave and that, but you don't realize the stress that they're experiencing, realizing that you're gone, because you're so focused on your mission.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about the impact it's having on your kids, and you realize that when you come back. And after a couple deployments, I really realized it was my kids were really missing me, and they were stressed, wondering what was happening to me, where I was, and that sort of thing. Because the news always portrays pretty much the worst of what's going on, and
Yeah.
they just think that that's where dad is.
Yeah. Yeah. They want to portray that drama. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Very good. Very good. Now, the biggest reason I wanted you to come on is your role in working with VA's Veterans Justice Outreach Coordinators and Treatment Court. It's something that we haven't explored yet here on Born the Battle. Can you talk about that program and break it down for those listening?
Well, I'm really happy you asked me that. I love working in the Veterans Treatment Court. I work with a great judge. This was
And
something
what
that
is a treatment court? For those that don't, what is a treatment court?
well, it's for veterans that get themselves in legal problems. They criminal activity of some sort. It's
Yeah.
generally not violent. If it's violent, they're not referred to the court.
Gotcha.
But so these veterans get an opportunity to go through a year program, very arduous, very strict. And if they succeed, their record's expunged and they go on with their life. And it's huge, because some of these charges, could impact the rest of their life. They'd never get a security clearance, those sorts of things. And it'd be very difficult to find a really good job when anybody would do a background
Check.
research on them.
Yeah.
So I was asked to participate in this program, and I said, sure. So I went in there, and I just absolutely embraced it. You work with the Veterans Outreach Justice Coordinators. I think they call them the Veterans Justice Outreach Coordinators. Yeah, the VJOs.
Yeah. What do they
Uh,
do?
they work with the veteran, with the VA. They coordinate with the veteran and the VA. They help the veteran get the benefits. They work with the veteran. Many of these veterans had psychological issues.
Yeah.
And so they were working with the psychiatrist. They would make sure they would get their medicines, take their medicines, give recommendations to the judge. They were very critical. They were the intermediaries between the big VA and the court. And I really enjoyed working with these folks. They took it very seriously. None of them that I knew of ever served, but
Mm,
they acted like they did, I can tell you. And they had the best interests of these people going through this court. And I had a lot of respect for them. We got an opportunity to go to a number of forums. I was selected to work with the University of Michigan School of Medicine, School of Psychiatry, and talk about the court and what we're doing and changes that could happen, and that to make it better and that sort of thing. And I was always honored to do that. When I was doing this in Michigan, and state of Michigan would put on big forums and
hmm.
call in a lot of other veteran organizations and that to talk about these veteran treatment courts as well. So it was heady stuff, actually, because it was relatively new. They were just standing them up around the country, and this was like one of the first ones in Michigan, and I think in the country, as a matter of fact.
About what year was this? When did all these start
This
going?
would have started back in 2012.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
Yeah,
10 years ago.
yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
are these county, state, or federal programs? Courts.
This was a county program.
Okay.
And yeah, it was Genesee County, Michigan, that hosted this one. Yeah, the
Yeah.
judge was Ginny Barkey, outstanding judge. We didn't play with these guys. They had to meet standards. They had to find work right away. They
Yeah.
didn't come back into court the next week because it was weekly. It was a big commitment for us.
Wow.
And every week they showed up on Thursday, and the judge we'd stand up there with them because we would talk to them through the week. And if they had a hiccup, they were in orange. We had the sheriff standing by, and the sheriff would come in there and take them out of jail. Now
Gotcha.
we would often, the judge would release them in a few days. That was to get their attention, let
Yeah.
them know this is serious, and we go on with the program. I would say 80% of participants made it. There were some
Mm,
that just could not meet the standards, would not leave the drugs. We would spot drug test them. We had
mm,
the drug supplies right there,
yeah.
and any kind of drug in their
It's
blood, they were done.
gotcha. And
So
it's tough to get off, and it's tough to get off them drugs, tell you.
yeah,
So,
it is. But they had to take that if they were on opioids. I forget the name of the drug they had to take, to suppress that
okay.
urge
That
and that,
craving.
and being the only combat veteran in that system as a mentor, I got all the combat vets, and they were
Gotcha.
they were not easy. And I still mentor them today. I
That's good
still I
stuff.
still talk to these guys, and they're doing extremely well. I'm very proud of them. They survived the suicidal ideations and attempts, and just they had a horrific time, and they look in the mirror today and they'll tell me, say, man, I just don't know how I did it, but they did. And yeah, very thankful that the somebody had the vision to try this.
Absolutely. If there's a county, and I've heard about these courts in Arizona, this is the second one I've heard about. Um, if there's a county commissioner or a county court that wants to try and start up a program like this, or a state even, are there any good resources out there to look at as an example?
The resource that we used other treatment courts,
Hmm.
and judges would talk to these other judges. I believe the first court was stood up in Buffalo, New York. My
Got
history
you.
is correct, and we modeled a lot of our uh, you know actions after that court. And then they started other courts. We helped start other courts in the state of Michigan. We started one in Wayne County, Michigan, which is the Detroit area,
Hmm.
which is a busy court. And we would go down there and help and work with their mentors and talk to their mentors as well. So that's how I recall this rolled out. Now I haven't been involved at that level,
Sure.
in a number of years. So I'm not sure if they formalized something or not. But I could certainly call Judge Barkey up because she's still doing it.
Gotcha. Very good.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Very good. Yeah, I was just thinking about maybe some other places in the country that could, that someone that's heard this for the first time. You don't know who's listening. hey, this sounds like a really good idea. Let's start doing something like that in our county. So appreciate you for that. Do you have maybe a success story where this type of court has helped a veteran learn from their mistakes and maybe got on the right track? You don't have to name names, but maybe if there's an example that you might want to share.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a guy that was with the Wolfhound 25th ID in Afghanistan. Came back. It was on opioids. This guy was a wreck. He just couldn't get his life together. He was having constant accidents. Almost killed himself a couple times,
Mm,
and he got referred to the treatment court. Well, he was assigned to me, and I work with him to this day. He's went to school, got his degree. He's working. He's very successful. His family has rallied around him, and I'm very proud of him. He's a great guy. He's turned to God. He's believes in the Lord, and he's used that very in a positive way to help himself grow
great.
and see that life is worth it. And yeah, so he went from somebody that could have been on the other side of the grass to a very productive member of our society, and I'm just extremely proud of him.
Very good. Very good. You talk about being a mentor in these treatment courts. What does a mentor do? Do you call them every day? Is it check in every week? In what way does a mentor do you help these veterans that are going through treatment court?
Well, when at the beginning, it's every day,
Hmm.
and it's their responsibility to call me. That
Okay.
you start with that focus. Not me chasing you around. You're going to chase me around.
Yeah.
And there were occasions we had to go to the home. There were occasions we had to meet the family. Some of these guys were just, I mean, they were big and they were beastly, and these were combat vets. And it was funny because there were points in times when they were worried about me, because some of these guys were big and tough. I wasn't worried about it, but it's funny how you get through that stuff. But the families are panicked, and
Yeah.
so you would meet with the family and talk to them, and you know but when the guy beats his dad up, he's got
Yeah.
to go.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
can tell you, we didn't throw him to the curb. If he needed my help or wanted to talk to me, I talked to him. And some of these individuals have turned out to be pretty good. They got
Great.
families, they're married, they're working. It was a rough time for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Now, Fred, like you said, you're a lifelong member of many associations, many military associations, and you are currently the national commander for the Combat Infantry Association. What were you able to do? What are you able to do in those roles, and how important is it for veterans to get involved in military associations?
Well, I came on this fairly quickly. I haven't been a member of the association for that many years, but I was on a pilgrimage to the Holy Land. I belong to another association. It's the Sovereign Military Order of the Temple of Jerusalem, and we
Oh,
support Christians in the Holy Land. But the long and short of it is, we're on this pilgrimage, and I see a guy with the 25th Infantry Division. No, it was the First Cav division patch on his hat. I go, hey man, you were the first. I mean, with the first Cav. He says, yeah. I said, yeah, I was over there. He says, first thing he asked me, he says, well, you got a CIBA? I said, yeah. He says, you got to join the Combat Infantrymen's Association. So I'm the type of guy that I tell you, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So I got home, and it was a couple months, but I finally decided to join and went to their first convention. The next thing I know,
hmm.
I'm the chief of staff of the commander. Well, yeah, I was his chief of staff for a little more than 2 years, and he suddenly passed away.
Mm,
So the board decided to, because I was closest to the flagpole, to make me vote me to commander. So I've been a commander since December of 2020,
oh well,
and just helping this thing grow. Our focus is obviously on the last 20 years of warriors, and of course our Desert Shield, Desert Storm guys. Believe it or not, we still get World War II veterans to join. It wasn't that long ago we had Lieutenant General James E. Uh, Grange Jr. join. He's a guy that their best ranger competitions named after.
Oh, wow.
He's in his 90s. I talked to him on occasion. He's as lucid as could be. Just a great guy. We got the Merrill's Marauders in there. I go to the Ranger Mustard Rendezvous, and these guys attend, and it's just such an honor to be with these just amazing men and what they've done with their life. But yeah, it's and it is important for, I think, for these individuals to join associations, any association, because it is a brother and sisterhood. Mm-hmm. We currently don't have any females in the association, but I know of at least one female ranger that mm-hmm. went downrange in Afghanistan and probably wears the blue badge. And I will be reaching out to her and asking her to join the association, and I'm sure we'll give her a free membership.
So you get the camaraderie out of it. What else does the association do, and why is it important? I mean, there's camaraderie, but what is the goal of the association? What's the goal of a lot of these associations, like American Legion, VFW, whatever it may be? Why should veterans join those?
Well, it's about legacy with us right now too. We're getting their stories and we're archiving them. That's very important to us. But we're also reaching out now. We've never done a good job at fundraising. We pretty much have depended upon the members' dues, and it barely, you can only sustain. But our goal is right now we're looking at legislation to support things from the VA for combat vets, things that we think should be looked at a little differently because of what they've done. Sure. And get the VA to take a look at, you got these guys humping these rucks around, orthopedic conditions, of course, psychological issues. Are just, they should be presumptives, I guess is the word I'm looking for here. So we're looking at that as well. I'm trying to think right off the top. I got so much going on right now, but we're doing things with fundraising. We're redoing our website. We've got a great company now to give us a real nice design on our website to attract these younger members. These guys are hard to get to join. They always say, well, I'm so busy and all. I'd say, look, I'm not asking you to do any heavy lifting. I'm asking you for your time, your input. And, we're a relatively low fee. It's $30 a year. So, it's not like we're asking for a king's ransom to be a member of this association, but we do punch above our weight. Yeah. And where we show up, people embrace us. They're like, wow, man, Combat Infantrymen's Association, and they don't really know who we are. But, once you tell them, that we're the guys that, are born under fire, born by fire, but whatever you want to phrase you want to use. It's
so it sounds like, go ahead.
No.
So it sounds like to me, you guys, help with a lot of, you partner with a lot of maybe other bigger associations to help maybe lobby for some sort of legislation as well, in addition to the camaraderie. Am I getting that right?
Yes. I'm in discussions with the National Infantry Association. We're talking about, leveraging our memberships. The National Infantry Association is unique in that they support the Chief of Infantry at Fort Benning, so they have to stay out of the political arena. Gotcha. And that's where we could potentially come in. I'm not speaking for them, obviously, but
sure.
But the perspective I have from my talks with that's a great organization, and Colonel Chapa just does a great job, and his staff, and that's where we're hoping to get to. Gotcha. We're really growing. We got a little over 4,400 members. We have 7,000 total, and we've got more than 3,000 Facebookers.
Very good.
So it's a pretty good number. But
good audience. You can good audience that you can talk to help influence whatever we can do for veterans.
Yeah. We got there's 175,000. We figure
Yeah.
out there that wear that badge, and we'd like to have them all in the fold so we could do some good stuff for them. My goal is to get some money raised. We see all these other organizations building homes and doing things for these individuals that have suffered grievously on the battlefield. I want to be able to help that effort. You know,
Gotcha.
and
Very good.
become part of that. But like you said, our goal is to be able to give money. Like we give money to the Ranger Association, both the USERA and the 75th Ranger Association.
Gotcha.
To help their troops and that sort of thing. That's our goal.
Gotcha. Very, very good. Very good. Um, Fred, has there been a veteran? Is there a veteran that you know in the veteran community or veteran nonprofit whom you've had an experience with that you'd like to mention?
Boy, it would be probably the American Legion
Gotcha.
here in California. They do a lot of really good things with honoring veterans. They put on these luncheons. They just put on a luncheon for Korean War veterans, and they invite people from the Korean embassy and that come, and
Oh,
a
wow.
lot of folks just want to show up and honor these men. They did the same thing for World War II veterans not long ago. That
Hmm.
was very positive. But yeah, those service organizations, they do a lot of good things that I don't think people realize, and how much they reach out to honor the people that aren't necessarily. You didn't have to be a member. You could just come there. They were, had
Open arms.
speakers and that. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, the Legion always. My brother, my brother spends a lot of time with the Legion. I've had a couple other veterans on the show talk about the Legion. Very good. Very good. Uh, Fred, what is one thing that you learned during your time in the military that you apply to what you do today?
Oh, yeah, definitely discipline. Yeah, I
Mm.
can work 24/7. I can still stay up 4 days in a row. Nobody can outwork me. Just try it. My wife will tell you
Love
that
it.
I'm a hard charger. I get up every day. I'm still very disciplined,
Still
and
working out that in Camp Lejeune there.
absolutely.
Yep.
And it's something that I embrace and love. And in high school I was a wrestler. I've always been an athlete. I wrestled. I played football and that sort of thing. But the military really taught me what discipline's all about, and self-sacrifice. And like I tell everybody, the one thing they can't stop when things were getting really bad is time.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll pass.
Yeah. What did you what weight did you wrestle at?
I
And
wrestled at
baseball's my favorite sport too. I was second base. What did you wrestle at? What was your weight?
I wrestled at 127. I
Oh
was
wow, you were one of the little guys.
absolutely, even though I wasn't little, I was a huge 127. And
Love it.
and I would come out there and go, wow, this guy can't weigh 127. It was rough. The holidays were tough because I used to go to these Christmas tournaments, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, you know,
You're sucking
my
weight and it's just not.
absolutely, yeah. I was in the sauna with the sweatsuit on, and
Hmm.
that sort of thing. Yeah,
Yeah, I did wrestling my senior year and I wrestled at 145, not knowing any of the rules. Just walked in, started wrestling my senior year.
that
It was a wake
that
up call, but it was a great challenge. It was a great challenge. And I thought it was great prep for me for the Marine Corps. You look at how wrestlers train during wrestling season, then you look at boot camp and you go, it's pretty similar, you know?
oh, I'd forgotten that you had been in the Marines.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, fantastic. Where'd you train at? Were you at Paris Island and
I,
Lejeune, or were you out here in California?
I was at San Diego and Pendleton in California. That's where I did my basic. But the Marine Corps decided to stick me on the East Coast for 11 years.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and I'm originally from Washington State. So I was as far away from home as you can get in the 48. But yeah, Lejeune, Cherry Point, Pentagon, Quantico, Syracuse University. So they sent me up there for a year. And so I thought maybe then I'd be like, I'd hit everything on the East Coast. Maybe I can get back to the West Coast. Nope. They recycled me back down to Camp Lejeune and Camp Johnson down there towards there.
We
So,
still have,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah, I'm a West Coast kid, but I've been on the East Coast since 2003.
Yeah. Before we moved out here, I spent 2 years living at the at Pendleton. We were in O'Neill Heights,
Oh, wow.
And we still got some, friends that we keep in touch with. They went back to Lejeune, but he's hoping to come back out here. They're from North Carolina, but he just got promoted to Master Sergeant. So he's been a
Gotcha.
Marine grunt his whole career. But when people come to visit, I take them over to the MCRD there on Pendleton just to watch those drill sergeants dog him out. I said, watch this. This kid's going to be down in front leaning rest position any minute now.
I think it's hilarious you guys get your jollies from going back to boot camp and watching guys get slayed. Jeez, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Fred, is there anything that I've missed or I haven't asked that you think it's important to share for anybody that's listening today?
No, yeah, I just want to, feature the Combat Infantrymen's Association. We also have a big support group. We're growing, and you don't have to have a Combat Infantryman's badge to join. In fact,
Gotcha.
I just had a Marine combat veteran join from Vietnam. He wanted to be a member, of this association, and I know he's going to bring great things to it.
Yeah.
So, and that we need the younger guys. We need you to consider, it's about.
So combat action ribbons for the Marine Corps count.
They don't count for we have to make them a support member. This is still a combat infantryman. So you have to have the combat infantryman badge. This thing right here, and
yes, sir.
But the car, the combat action ribbon, is something we certainly appreciate. I'm not sure if I'm authorized to wear one or not. When we were OpCon to the Marines, the regulations would appear that I would have earned my combat action ribbon.
Yeah.
For the Marines, but I don't feel I would ever put it on because there's just something about. So I was working with the Marines,
yeah,
but I wasn't a Marine. The Marines are different, as you well know.
We're a little different. We're a little different
in a good way.
But yeah, no, I think it's the same thing as the way as if a Marine was attached to an Army and maybe they would, hey, you can wear a combat infantry badge if you want. It's been through the MAR admin or anything like that. And I'm sure there's a lot of Marines that would be like, no, that's for the Army. That's their thing. So I totally understand that. Think about anybody that's listening to this that might be struggling or is listening to this because of the treatment court. Is there anything that you might want to relay to them as like maybe a parting shot?
Well, I would tell them to don't wait, reach out. I was in that same dark spot. I'm going to tell you, if it wasn't for the VA, I probably wouldn't be here today. That treatment court saved me as well. I didn't realize just how bad I was psychologically. And I went and got help. I went to the VA and met with a counselor. It was one of the, I can't remember. It was an outreach clinic. And met a great social worker there, and she really helped me along.
Wow.
I didn't realize just how rough I could be. It wasn't easy to live with, and I was having a lot of problems with anger and that sort of stuff myself. And it was only because of my position and my discipline, I think, that kept me from going over the edge and that. So don't hesitate. Don't wait. The VA is there for you. I always stress that to people. You hear these horror stories about the Veterans Administration. Yeah, they always want
Veterans Affairs. Veterans
Affairs. That's right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Veterans Affairs. Take the step. It doesn't get better. You're not going to heal yourself. Even the psychiatrist got to go to the psychiatrist.
Very good. Very good. Well, Fred, that's we're about out of time. I appreciate you for coming on board in the battle and sharing your story. And we are out.
Okay. Thank you very much.
We gotta get them one way or the other. Machine gun, firefight, bullets fly, day and night rain. Simplified till we're done another campaign. My desk is a rock where the drug lords cut up millions. My pen is a 7.62 round that'll cut them down in an instant. Point, click, pull the trigger to the tune of falling brass. bullets fly, day and night rain. Simplify, do or die, another campaign. Here we go, lock and load, 0331, lug 1,000 rounds, and I ain't bringing back one.